This is Good Day Tampa Bay.
It was a fatal mistake for him to shoot at my deputies tonight.
Deputies clock a motorcyclist driving over 100 miles an hour, and when they catch him, he pulls a gun. Developing this morning what we're learning about a man killed in a shootout with deputies.
I heard multiple gunshots. That's a pretty alarming sound to hear.
I thought there was possibly another terrorist attack.
What this is at this point is likely a workplace violence incident.
A fired employee returns for revenge and kills 5 people before taking his own life. And now investigators are left looking for a motive.
Did cyber spies tamper with the U.S. voting system? A federal contractor accused of leaking top secret information on Russian hacking efforts during the presidential election.
State is just surrounded by rain now. The heaviest rain on shore, no doubt, has been south of Punta Gorda, down around the Naples area. It needs to stop raining there before they start. They're going to get some flooding pretty soon if they don't. Now, notice how behind the little batch of sprinkles we have in Pasco County. You go out into the Gulf and some of that rain is beginning to fill in. Well, that is headed our way. It's only a matter of time before we deal with that. So I'm thinking another hour, hour and a half, that rain will be on shore. 77 degrees, rain chances sky high. We're going 90% for today, but not a washout. Periods of rain and the wind will keep temperatures in the low to mid 80s for highs. Vanessa?
All right, Dave, thank you. A look at the roads, seeing our only big concern is a crash that's been around for a couple hours at this point. It's in the Lakeland area and will be affecting George Jenkins Boulevard. According to FHP, this is at the intersection with Veterans Avenue, and they say that the road is closed, seeing mainly concerns in the eastbound and westbound directions. So at the very least, avoid that stretch. So it would be George Jenkins Boulevard that would be affected. Steer clear. We'll bring updates as soon as we learn more.
6:02 and developing this morning, Tampa police are led on a hot pursuit following a report of gunshots.
They say the suspects bailed out of a car, but not all of them got away. Fox 13 Shayla Reeves is live for us in Tampa, and Shayla, officers have made some arrests, we've learned. Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you. Authorities have arrested 2 people and the search continues for a third. I want you to check out your screen. We watched as officers made one of those arrests. It happened not far from North 40th Street overnight. Now, it's less than a couple of miles away from Williams Park, where a call came in about shots fired around 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, Tampa police tell us officers showed up at Williams Park to investigate. A supervisor tells me no shots were fired by officers, no shots were fired at officers, but officers could hear the sound of gunfire when they arrived. Now, at some point, a vehicle took off. Cruisers followed. A driver ditched the vehicle around North 40th Street and East Clifton Street. Well, officers arrested 2 people nearby. The search now again continues for a third person. If we bring you back out here, a couple of hours ago, a tow truck collected a car and took it away as evidence. Tampa police are likely going to be checking out that vehicle, looking to see if any, what if any information the vehicle may reveal. So far, it's unclear if any weapons have been recovered in this case, but certainly still an active, ongoing investigation. We'll continue to follow and bring you any updates as they become available. Reporting live here, North 40th Street, Shayla Reeves, Fox 13 News.
Also developing this morning, a man is shot after a shootout with Polk County deputies. He's dead. It all started around 6 o'clock last night. Deputies clocked a motorcyclist driving 112 miles an hour on Highway 60. They followed the motorcycle and found the bike lying on the ground. When they asked the driver to show his hands, they say he pulled a handgun from his waist, a shootout, and when it was over, the man was dead.
Allegedly, Quentin made a statement earlier that he was not going to prison. I cannot classify that as in the immediate time frame, but supposedly it was said to a friend or a relative.
Well, deputies identified this man as Quentin Case from Winter Haven. He had a warrant out for probation violation and extensive criminal history. No deputies were hurt in the shootout, and we expect to learn more about all this later on today.
A terrifying scene at an Orlando business. A man who was fired from a factory in April returned yesterday with a gun and killed 5 people. And when he heard the sound of approaching sirens, he took his own life. Authorities have identified the shooter as John Robert Newman Jr., a 45-year-old Army veteran who lived alone. Investigators say there's no evidence to suggest that he belonged to any type of subversive or terrorist organization. Deputies are now focused on determining his motive.
And today they'll continue searching through his home in Maitland while looking on social media for some possible clues. Shooting began when Newman slipped through the door of the Fiamma factory. The building is larger than 2 football fields. The factory makes awnings for recreational vehicles. Investigators say Newman paused at least once to reload. Orange County Sheriff Jerry Demings says the shooter's actions were deliberate and that he had a negative relationship with at least one of the victims.
But he was certainly singling out the individuals that he shot. It appears that one of the individuals he encountered, a young woman who was a temporary employee, had just shown up for work, that he pointed a firearm at her and told her to get out of the business.
Now, Newman was honorably discharged from the Army in 1999. His record includes a few minor criminal charges, and records show he was accused of beating up a co-worker outside of the factory in 2014, but was never charged.
And this morning, we're also learning more about the victims of the shooting. 5 people who expected to go to work to do their jobs and go home. Now their loved ones are left wondering why this happened. Danielle Lama reports.
Friends say 69-year-old Robert Snyder was always smiling. The proof in these pictures they shared with us. They say he was a regular at trick shots in Winter Park. A man who made a lot of friends over the years while playing pool. Those closest to him are trying to cope with the news that he's gone.
People are in tears. I've used up half the napkins in the place today because I'm 300 pounds, 6'6", and I've been balling all day. He was that type of person.
He was so quiet. He was a man of few words, but when he spoke, people listened, and he's going to be very, very sorely missed.
We're also learning more about one of Snyder's colleagues, 53-year-old Kevin Clark. Clark's close friend says he leaves behind 2 teenage kids. That friend says Kevin was a fantastic, loving person. Danielle Lama, Fox 13 News.
And the latest government statistics indicate that workplace homicides are on the rise in the United States. Bureau of Labor Statistics data show a 2% uptake between the years 2014 and 2015. And among those, fatal shootings rose more sharply by 15%. That's the first increase since 2012.
And we have this. Australian police are treating a deadly shooting in Melbourne as a terrorist incident. The attacker was killed in a gun battle after killing one man and taking a woman hostage. During the ordeal, he called a TV station to say he was inspired by ISIS. It's claimed responsibility for the attack now. It comes just hours after U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and National Security Advisor James Mattis met with Australian leaders to discuss the fight against terrorism.
And one of the men believed to have carried out the deadly weekend attack in central London was a well-known radical Islamist. Quram Butt was recently appeared in a documentary called The Jihadis Next Door. His extremist beliefs led at least one neighbor to contact police about 18 months ago. He was kept on a watch list, but not arrested. Same goes for the second suspect. Police have not released the identity of the third person who was involved in this attack. And this is the third attack in as many months where the suspects had been on the radar of British authorities. All 12 people detained by London police following Saturday's attack have been released with no charges. A new search is underway this morning.
And here in the U.S., President Trump is doubling down on his call for a ban on travel from 6 mostly Muslim countries known for producing terrorists. Calling it a travel ban directly contradicts what his aides have said before. Now, when they downplayed any notion that the executive order was a ban, legal experts, including George Conway, the husband of White House counselor Kellyanne Conway, said the president's call for a tougher version of his executive order could undermine the administration's efforts to reinstate the policy. Conway says he still strongly supports the president, the executive order, and his wife.
And in an effort to make flights quicker, safer, and more reliable, President Trump has announced plans to privatize America's air traffic control system. The president argues the FAA is too antiquated to innovate. He wants to turn the air traffic control system into a modern, nonprofit organization that operates on fees paid by the airlines and others that use U.S. airspace instead of taxes. Move is backed by most American airline companies, too, which critics say could take advantage of the change. If approved, the transition would take about 3 years to fully implement.
Almost 6:10, and Russian hackers targeted a U.S. voting software company. just days before last year's presidential election. That is according to a government intelligence report that has been leaked online. And a 25-year-old federal contractor is facing serious charges in connection with this leak. She's accused of sending classified information to the online news organization The Intercept. Website published a redacted version of the top secret document, which describes new details about Russian efforts to hack voting systems in the U.S. during the election. Says malware could give hackers full control of infected computers. Does not say which state was targeted, though. The extent of the breach is not yet known. Looking ahead, White House says President Trump will not assert executive privilege to block former FBI Director James Comey from testifying on Capitol Hill. While the president's power to invoke executive privilege is well established, administration officials say the president wants a swift and thorough examination of the facts. Comey scheduled to testify Thursday before the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Still ahead this morning on Good Day, a heartbreaking story why researchers say that babies as young as 4 months old should sleep in their own room.
Plus, a man falls onto some subway tracks and a ballet dancer leaps to the rescue. Hear how he used his talents to save a life.
It is 6:11. Heavy rain down around Naples, heavy rain over Alligator Alley, and heavy rain up just north of Gainesville. So far, we've been okay. However, look out into the Gulf. You see those showers and thunderstorms developing, and those are headed our way. So only a matter of time before the rain takes back over again. We're starting at 77 degrees, and we're lucky to make it back in the low to mid 80s for today, with periods of rain and a few thunderstorms as well.